I want to talk to you about how to manage your requirements when it comes to building software and SaaS applications with AI. So, for background, I've done everything from years ago on the earlier side of things with the newer models, providing basically no context and just vibe coding my way through everything, or at least trying, because for the most part that didn't work, all the way to and through more recently providing entire encyclopedias worth of information and using dedicated frameworks for doing this with a more modern model. And I could tell you that for the most part, this is a moving target. And the reason why this is a moving target is because these models are continually changing how they manage context windows. And context in this case is basically the requirements or the instructions that you're giving it as input to tell it what to do. So because that's been a moving target, what has worked best at any given point in time is also likely different. But I'm going to tell you what works now based on what I'm doing so that you can apply that for your projects as well too and be as productive as you can be in building with AI. Okay, so first and foremost, and for the ladies out there, you may get this reference, but from my perspective here, size matters, right? That's principle number one. When you are asking AI to build something, try to break it down into as manageable of a context window as possible. So there's a lot of talk out there about like one-shot prompting and giving minimal context and trying to build an entire application in one instruction, and that type of stuff is what will get you in trouble. The more you are trying to use AI in that way, I think the less predictable your results will be. And also because this is an iterative process, meaning that we need to make incremental progress along the way. So what you're really trying to do is instead of just making giant leaps of progress in a very short period of time, over and over again, is figure out what a manageable context window looks like and then try to stay within that threshold for the model that you're using, because its efficiency is going to likely be repeatable and its success with using it is going to be that way as well. Also, if you figure out what kind of threshold works best there. Okay, for the second one, the context is very important here. And what I mean by that is this is somewhat counterintuitive for folks. I found this to be the case when I was doing my testing as well. And I especially learned this when I was experimenting with, there's entire frameworks out there for kind of managing these things, but too much information and too much context can be a bad thing, right? So it can get kind of lost in the details that you're providing it. So for those frameworks I was using, they were providing entire encyclopedias worth of data and just like hundreds or thousands of lines of context. The AI agents that I were using at the time, they just were unable to kind of figure out like where is the needle in this haystack so that I can get exactly what I need and do what the user is asking me to do. So don't feel like you need to throw everything in the kitchen sink at your AI agents. In fact, what we're trying to do here is try to strike the appropriate balance, and I'm going to give you a way to be able to figure that out as well too through testing. This is my best principle, and I think it's treat your AI agent as though you were working with an actual developer or a development team, right? So think about what you want to do in terms of the feature you want to build and the product that you want it to ultimately become, and interact with your agent the way you would a developer or a development team. If you think about it from that perspective, it becomes a lot less, I think, confusing, because it's essentially what the AI agent is intending to do. It's intending to augment or replace you having to need that developer or developer team yourself. You're kind of becoming that and you're leveraging the AI agent to do that. So provide instructions as you would if you had a developer on your team, and that should be a pretty good guiding principle for you in terms of getting started here. Okay, so to recap, right? Stick to the fundamentals when it comes to providing context to your AI agent for building SaaS, and right, skip the kitchen sink. Don't give it more than it needs. Just focus on what it needs in order to be able to produce what it is you're looking for it to do. Then also keep in mind that there is a diminishing return here, as in if you provide way too much information, you're more than likely to get unpredictable results the more context that you provided, right? And that's for significantly higher and greater volumes of context that the AI agent needs to kind of parse through. So just stick to the fundamentals, right? What it needs, everything it needs, nothing it doesn't for now, right? And then I'll talk about what to do in order to figure out how well that's going over time. And then my best advice still is really to just treat it as though it was a developer on your team, right? Give it the context someone would need if they were helping you build, just like you're leveraging the AI agent. So provide it with the instructions, use that as kind of your primary principle, and you should get some pretty predictable results. And that's really the key here is I want you to be as productive as you can be. Okay, so to apply these principles, what I want you to do is if you're building with AI, try to figure out what a good threshold is in order to manage the requirements that you're providing for what it is that you're building, right? Feature after feature. And experiment here, right? So if the AI agent is relatively inconsistently producing what it is you're looking for, try to give it perhaps a little bit more context, as in relevant context, what it needs in order to achieve predictable results. If you've given it a significantly higher volume worth of information that part has taken you quite a while, maybe you need to break up what it is you're trying to do into smaller chunks and provide it a little bit less, right? So what I want you to do here is experiment with it. See what you can do so that over time, the vast majority of your requests should result in what it was you were looking for from an output perspective in terms of having the agent build for you most of the time, right? I'm not saying it's going to get it right all the time, but the vast majority of the time, I'd say 90+% of the time, the AI agent should be able to do exactly what you're asking it to do. And if you're not there yet, then you need to experiment with it a little bit further. My last ask of you is to like, comment, or subscribe to this content if you feel like you got value out of it because it helps me produce better content for you.